It's crazy how much we disagree about number one on the list. You guys got to stay tuned.
I think they don't matter, but for some reason, you keep trying to convince me that I should give a damn about these two other books.
This guy is supposed to look like someone you don't want to talk to. Happy New Year. Over $40,000 worth of comics just sold this last week. Let's jump into the hottest comic books in the world with number 10 from 1964, the first appearance of Kraven in Amazing Spider-Man 15. The movie came out, it bombed, and people are buying this book. Some, the year high of 2024. The 1.8 year high, 6% up, selling for $381. The 3.0 and 3.5 both sold for $600. One up 4%, the 3.5 up 7%. The 5.5's up 7%, and the 6.0 sold for $1,210, up 4%. $1,210. Have to say it. 210. Shout out Madam Web.
Shout out crypto.
Now, I haven't seen Kraven yet, but I've gone on record multiple times to say that I enjoyed Madam Web, and Morbius wasn't that bad, and I know you saw Kraven over the last week.
I was one of the fortunate souls of the 5 that were in that theater with me to watch this movie. Now, I will say, I do feel like Sony is unfairly pooped upon, okay, for how horrible these movies are. Because I do like seeing a lot of these characters on the big screen. I feel Morbius was okay because it really showed how powerful of a character he can be. And I thought that was badass to see. Storyline of brothers battling as vampires, that was so freaking lame to me. But whatever, there's still redeeming qualities. This Kraven movie had redeeming qualities. We saw the Chameleon. We saw Rhino and Kraven battle that was actually pretty badass if you ask me. So there's some things that you can take away from these movies, and they shouldn't be as horribly rated as they are. And I'm going to go directly from a quote, and I'm going to read it to you by CEO from Sony. Let's just touch on Madam Web. For a moment, Madam Web underperformed in the theaters because the press just crucified it. It was not a bad film, and it did great on Netflix. For some reason, the press decided that they didn't want us making these films out of Kraven and Madam Web, and the critics just destroyed them. They also did it with Venom, but the audience loved Venom and made Venom a massive hit. These are not terrible films. They were just destroyed by the critics in the press for some reason.
What do you think about that Sony quote in the comment section below? While we move on to number 9 on the list, 1964, Brave and the Bold 57, the first appearance of Metamorpho. Now, this is a really tough book to acquire in high grade, specifically between 9.0 and 9.8. There are only 74 copies that exist, and only 3 of them are graded at a 9.8. Record high sale was over $20,000. Now, we did see a glimpse of Metamorpho in the Superman trailer, and we also see Hawkgirl, and we see Mr. Terrific, and we see Crypto, we see Lois Lane, we see Clark Kent. There's so many characters, Green Lantern. And I think there's a lot of people who may be underestimating James Gunn's ability to make memorable characters, even if they only have a little screen time, because he's building a universe. Look what he did with Creature Commandos, telling the story and narrative of like the Weasel years after his debut in Suicide Squad, which, by the way, is one of the best movies at DC, and that was a team-up movie.
The 5.0 sold for $234. That's up 11% and a year-high sale. The 6.0 is up 8% for $235. The 7.0 is up 26% with a year-high sale of $449. And the 7.5 is up 20% for $465. Sony may be dealing with some delusions of grandeur, but the ones who aren't are the ones who are picking this book up now. This is an obscure character and an obscure title, and it almost feels like James Gunn is picking from Brave and the Bold, because that was a tryout title where DC would put out characters that they wanted to explore. I mean, we saw Suicide Squad in Brave and the Bold, number 25 here. We saw Justice League of America start in Brave and the Bold, 28. So this is a very interesting title, very interesting book, and one that I'm excited to see get so much attention. Now, another book that's exciting on this list is that we don't get to see very often, but is a fantastic battle cover scenario. We have Fantastic Four number 25 in at number 8 here.
And this book debuted the same year in 1964. This is the first battle between the Hulk and the Thing, a glorious cover, but also the second appearance of Captain America in the Silver Age. This is a double key that has never gotten enough love, but whenever I see it, or if someone owns this and it's part of their PC, it's part of their pride and joy. They really appreciate this comic, and I love seeing it on the list because this is some speculation long term. We know we're going to get the Fantastic Four. We know we're going to get the Thing. Eventually, when the Thing crosses over to the 616, where we can go up against Bruce Banner. Ooh, this book has now just had the opportunity to have a Hulk 340 situation take place. We'll kick you off with a record-breaking sale. 2.0 last sold in 2022 for $200, up 8%, selling for $215. The 4.0 is up 2% when you compare it to the recent 12-month average, selling for $300. The 6.5 had a year-high sale going for $850. That's up 30%. And the 8.5 had a year-high sale up 50%, going for $24.75. That right there is a red flag. It could be a good price, but let's take a look at GPA. How does an increase of 50% look on an 8.5 on this title?
This is where we get into the area of high grade and what is available at the time when you really want this book. I like this book. The art's a little odd to me because it's a Jack Kirby cover and a George Russo's cover. It doesn't feel Kirby. If you really want a great Kirby Hulk thing battle, you go to FF12. That is the book to be really eyeing if you're looking for a battle cover between these two and you see a future. I mean, this is an image where Hulk has 4 fingers and 3 toes, and so does the Thing. So it really puts them in this monster scenario where they're not just half human, but they're also half monster, and it's a great book. This one at $2,500, I get it. The highest graded available right now on eBay is like a 7.5. So an 8.5 is a very solid grade. It's got unbelievable deep colors usually, this book, so it's a very striking image. At $2,500 almost, you know, you're probably within reason, within 10, 15% of what it's probably trading in.
Make sure to download Key Collector Comics. It's where we source all this information from. You can use code TOM101 to unlock a free 2-week subscription of the app. As news breaks, Key Collector will let you know what is going on and what books are moving, or to just simply keep on your radar. It'll better your hunt and better your comic collecting. Number 7 on the list is Conan the Barbarian, number 1. One of the most beloved Bronze Age comics of all time. And one that comes and goes on our list for no reason. I would put this in the same classification as Star Wars. And how polar opposite are these IPs?
I did not see that comparison coming. And I agree that people love Conan. And I agree people love Star Wars. So if you love those two, they went on for a very long run, each of them. And people truly enjoyed it for separate reasons. I mean, that Conan crowd, I mean, it's like your 70s alpha male meathead type mentality when you read this, but it's a really fun, just kind of primal read. And the artwork is great. I forget how many issues, but Barry Windsor Smith's artwork really brought you in. And the drawing style was fantastic for this. And I'm sure it continued to get praise as we got to see Arnold Schwarzenegger, one of the greatest action heroes at that time. Didn't have a lot to say during the movie, but really portrayed a character and instilled him more than just out of comics, but in the mainstream.
Well, the highs on this book reached like $8,000, right around there. And the last GPA sale, $7,800. It's had some ebbs and flows, but similar to Star Wars, this book ain't going anywhere long term. You know, it's not going to fall off as it pertains to collector worthiness. If anything, over time, it just gets to be more wanted because it's that key book that people add to their PC kind of like eventually. They don't necessarily need a reason to grab it, but when the time is right, they're going to own a Conan 1. The 3.5 had a year high for $170. The 6.0 up 2%. The 7.0 is up 8%. Maybe you can get an 8.5 for $728. That's up 25%. Now, there's no Conan news besides Red Sonja coming out at some point in 2025. However, I will say, when are we going to see Old Man Conan? It wouldn't be surprising to me if Arnold took on the mantle again for the last time. How epic would that be? I mean, look at your eyes. They're widening for our audio listeners who are exclusively listening to us on Spotify, iTunes, etc. Give us a rating over there. And I will say, Arnold wasn't the only Conan. We also have Jason Momoa. And what did we find out this week? Courtesy of James Gunn, posting my exclusive cover, a joint cover with Carnivore Comics, our Santa Fung Lobo cover, announcing Jason Momoa in Supergirl as Lobo.
By Crom, on to number 6, Green Lantern number 59, which is a character that looks like he got his hair cut by a sword. The first appearance of Guy Gardner.
Oh, so many year-high sales, and the first time we've chatted about this book in the last 12 months, courtesy of that Superman teaser, showing Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner, who looks like a prick, which is the point. This guy is supposed to look like someone you don't want to talk to.
I'm excited to see the douche factor that's going to be brought by him to this movie because I do think it's going to be captivating and fun. Now, we saw the 5.5 sell for a year-high sale of $310. That's up 17%. The 6.0 is up 27% with another year-high sale. The 6.5, guess what? Another year-high sale up 28%. And the 7.0, another year-high sale up 28%. The 7.5 is up 12% with $499. And the 8.5, year-high sale up 8% for $750.
I have no complaints about this trailer. Fire Guy Ryan, who is the biggest Green Lantern fan that I know, praised the Nathan Fillion appearance in said trailer. So if he's excited, I know there's a lot of Green Lantern fans that are excited. Butch is excited. He just knocked some stuff over on the table. It happens. What'd you think about the Superman trailer? What'd you think about Crypto?
Oh, dude. Adventure Comics 210.
The number is everywhere. Just like this next comic book, number 5 on the list, Secret Wars 8, The Origin of the Black Costume. We threw it out there on the last Hot 10 to send us pictures of your Secret Wars 8 if you own it. And we posted to Instagram and we got a bunch of pictures. Thank you for showing off your PC. I just wanted to provide a point that not every one of these purchases are spec plays, like people buying this because they're looking to do a flip. This is a book that a lot of people just want to have on display. They just want to own it. The 9.4 is up 20%, the 9.6 3%, the 9.8 up 38%, selling for $675. I think that's a little overpriced right now. This book's more of a $450, $500 book to me in that grade. But as Spider-Man 4 draws near, we get more hype from Venom. The rumors that Tom Holland may don this suit gearing up for Secret Wars long term. All new Venom is great, so Venom is on a lot of people's minds right now. This book may see another opportunity to go up in value like it used to, despite the rapidly increased census count that this comic is experiencing.
After this video, take a second to join this SMS group and win yourself a John Boy Myers 1 in 100 Cobra Commander #1.
That's right. Join our SMS group and you get a chance at our weekly giveaways. We did a Lobo drop, discounted all of our first appearances of Lobo on the site, and sent out a discount exclusively to our SMS members. Don't miss out on the deals and don't miss out on our giveaways. Number 4 on the list, Incredible Hulk 340.
We asked on top of the Secret Wars 8 for people to also send us photos of Hulk 340. So thank you for doing that, everybody. Here's some of the people up on the screen. Check them out. But this is a book that we've seen at number 1, now down to number 4.
And Secret Wars 8 also has plummeted on the list. Now, these are still hot. There are a lot of comics that are selling, and being mid-list is a big accomplishment. But it also means that there are other books to be considering because other members are.
New year and 3 new leaders for this list.
The newsstand 9.2 is up 7%, the 9.4 up 10%, the 9.6 sold for $390, up 8%. Let's take a look at the next 3 books that outdid Secret Wars 8 and Hulk 340 for the first time in months. Number 3 on the list from 1977, Star Wars #1. Skeleton Crew, pretty good. I know you mentioned that you liked episode 4, but it wasn't as good as the other episodes. I don't think this show is good enough, though, to cause Star Wars 1 to see a major uptick in value. But the comics are flying off the virtual shelves between 5.0 and 9.6. We have an 8.5 up 16%, a 9.0 up 7%, 4 9.4s outdid the recent 12-month average, the highest for 690 up 39%, and the 9.6 is up 2%, selling for $898. The last 9.6 sale was for $800. Now, there are a lot of copies of this book, over 2,000 9.6s, but it's a new year. Maybe people are hoping for a new hope as it pertains to value on this comic book because I don't see this book dropping that much more. I mean, $800 for a 9.6. The census makes sense for that price, but it does get to a point where too many people want this book to keep that price that low.
This book has been on this list 16 times this year, and I think it's going to be for a multitude of factors. First of all, it's actually an extremely common book, so it's not surprised to see it trading hands often. So you only need 3 books above the 12-month average to even make this list. So for a book like this, I'm not shocked, but I'm also thinking Mark Hamill has been doing a lot more signatures this year than he has in the past. Now, granted, they're really expensive. I hear they're like $500, give or take. So maybe that's also added an increase to people wanting to pick up this book and get it signed by him. So I'm not shocked to see it on this list. It's a perpetual key. It's always going to pop up on this list annually with or without any Star Wars show buzz.
It's crazy how much we disagree about number 1 on the list. You guys got to stay tuned.
Before we get to that beef, we got to get to new at 2, Amazing Spider-Man number 300. First full appearance of Venom, obviously a Todd McFarlane classic, a book that's constantly in demand, just like the Star Wars one we just discussed.
Yeah, there's a lot of copies of this book that exist. I mean, it's a milestone issue. It's a first appearance. Everyone wants it. And we saw over $6,000 in sales this last week. Like, what's going on besides symbiote spec long term? Not much else. We don't even know what's going on with Eddie Brock Venom. In the comics, Eddie Brock doesn't even have the Venom symbiote. But this book be selling aggressively. The 9.4 up 7%, 9.6 up 30%, and a newsstand 9.6 sold for $15.45. That's up 3%. Seeing this book sell around $1,000 for a 9.6 doesn't feel wrong to me, but it has been averaging in the $800 range, similar to Star Wars.
It's a bit astounding considering that Star Wars has half the amount in a 9.6 and sells for almost the same price. So could this book, ASM 300, let's just say in a 9.6 with 4,400 copies in that grade, be the most expensive book per capita than any other book in all of comic books?
Could this disagreement that Jeff and I have about number one foil the show? Well, before we get to that, join the Mystery Mail Call. We're starting out the year strong, and if you want to support us in the videos that we make, we'll send you comics every single month. 4 to 5 to be precise. A print and a guaranteed exclusive. Magic number 1 by John Boy Myers. ComicTom.com, $34.99 to join the community. And let's chat about number 1 on the list, the number 1 hottest book in the world, dethroning Secret Wars 8, Hulk 340, and so many others this week. Amazing Spider-Man 252, hell yeah, about damn time. This is the symbiote key to own.
1,000 freaking percent. The fact that it's on this list and it took so long to get here is unbelievable to me. This book is 10 months earlier than Secret Wars 8. And how many times have we seen Secret Wars 8 on this list at number 1? Too many times if you ask me.
Now, Secret Wars 8, which did come out about 12 months after the first time we ever saw the black symbiote costume in comics, which is in 252. Kind of. We'll get to that in a second. It trades for $450 to $500, around there in a 9.8. Then we have ASM 252, which, by the way, sold over $3,500 worth of monies this last week, and 13 different transactions outdid the recent 12-month average. People are starting to buy this book in mass, and I don't think this is going to slow down. This is probably the calm before the storm. Here's some of the highlights. The 9.4 is up 4%, the 9.6 up 4%, selling for $375, and a newsstand 9.8 went for $1,400. That's up 1%. The 9.8 last GPA sale was $940, near double what a Secret Wars 8 trades for. That right there says a lot about this book and overall symbiote interest. We would tend to see more Secret Wars 8s because they're more affordable, but it doesn't mean that it's more wanted than 252.
Here's my quibble, okay? Do these two other books that we have on our notes matter? I think they don't matter, but for some reason, you keep trying to convince me that I should give a damn about these two other books.
Spectacular Spider-Man 90 and Marvel Team Up 141. Both of these books came out within 2 weeks of ASM 252. Upwards of a year before Secret Wars number 8. You can get a Spectacular Spider-Man 90 for around $200 at a 9.8. And the newsstands are selling for about the same amount. You can get a Marvel Team Up 141 for more money than that Secret Wars 8, mind you. So it is technically more wanted than a 9.8 Secret Wars 8. And that book's going for $675. Newsstand, last sale, $614. I think there's opportunities in these two titles because they came out within the same month. Here's the thing. Back in the day, in the 80s, these were on newsstands. These were being shipped out all over the place at the same time. Some dealers were just selling the wrong books at the wrong time. Saying they all came out within 2 weeks of each other is, to me, essentially saying that they came out at the same time.
That is some of the fuzziest math you could bring to comic conversation. This is worse than cameo and first appearance. You're telling me a book with a release date of end of January 1984, ASM 252, and then Marvel Team Up 141, which came out 2 weeks later, is somehow tied. That makes no zero sense. Just because Johnny Joe Schmo Newsstand thought, hey, I will hold mine back and put them out at the same time, okay, versus everyone else across the country who decided to put it out when they should have, that it's tied, makes zero sense to me.
Don't get me wrong, 252 reigns supreme to me. That does have the hard date first appearance on the main title, showcasing the symbiote in full for the first time. However, Secret Wars 8 when you compare that to these two other books, Marvel Team Up and Spectacular Spider-Man 90, I just don't think these books get enough love. And Marvel Team Up being priced above Secret Wars 8 demonstrates that proof to the masses because they've already chosen with their dollars that is more valuable. I just think there's more opportunity in these two other books, and because they came out so close, even if it's not technically a tie, it's because it's a technicality.
Not a technicality. This is as black and white as the costume is, okay? This is not a tie.
Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Hell, if you own Spectacular Spider-Man 90 and 141, I need your support. DM me on Instagram. We'll put you in the video because I think we're going to be talking about this again in the future. And of course, Happy New Year. And as always,
I quit.
Enough said.